Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome back to Houselights, our director discussion show here on the Nerd Party Network. Today, we're continuing in the House of Reynolds, covering the 2002 film, The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm Count Darren, and joined again by my friends from the island of Elba, Count Tristan Rizal, and back from his new home in Paris, Count John Mills. Counts, let's count the ways as this movie deals with triumph, loss, imprisonment, sanity, and most of all, revenge. Man, if you have a list of best revenge movies, it may not be number one, but this movie has to be on it. It is the story. Everything is built around the rise and fall and rise again of Edmond Dantes. And we're all counts, so we're on equal footing. We can outspend each other to see how popular we are.
Yes. I can count the ways that we are here on these podcasts. And this is my first time coming at it, so
That's
I'm really
right.
looking forward to talking about it.
So, John, so we often start with the first time we caught it, and it is semi-rare with the movies we pick that it's the first time. So I wanted to start with, what did you know about this going into it? Had you seen a poster? Did you know who was young Superman was in it? Or was this like, it might as well have just dropped out of thin air for as much as it had impacted your cultural knowledge?
I knew of its existence. I remember the ad campaign for it. I remember not getting to see it, and it was one that I'd always heard good things about, and had never gotten around to it, sort of thing. I had no idea Henry Cavill was in it. Like when he walked on
minor
screen,
role. We say minor role, but yeah.
Yes, it's a minor role, but still, when he walked on screen, I had that moment of, is that real? Is that him? Wait a minute. And they talked. I was like, yeah, that's him.
And he's 19 in this. So it's one of those things where, like, you do a double take because his facial features are a little softer and like he looks like Henry Cavill, but
he hasn't, he hasn't gone through Zack Snyder's rigorous training program necessary for every superhero, where apparently they lift weights 6 times a day.
I saw this with I saw Man of Steel. I should say, not this. I saw Man of Steel with my sister, and when he saves everybody on the oil rig and he comes out of the water and he doesn't have a shirt on, I heard a literal oof from my sister.
I gotta tell you that probably just like Chris Evans, there's got to be a minor blessing for these actors when it's like, oh, you don't have to play the superhero anymore. It's like, oh, thank God I can have a cheeseburger again. But I knew very little except that it had a really great rep. And as with any movie I know of that has Guy Pearce in it, every time I hear his name, I'm like, man, that guy should have been a bigger star. Like he's that guy that,
he's like always number 2, but like, gosh, he would bring it every time.
Every time. He's a terrific actor. And I go all the way back to LA Confidential. It was him and Russell Crowe. And everybody thought Guy Pearce was going to be the breakout star from that. And then it wound up being Russell Crowe. And then Guy Pearce is in Memento. And he's in all of these other terrific films. And he's just never hit that like stratospheric level of stardom. And so, and then, as the cast goes on and I recognize, the right-hand flunky from Tron Legacy / Spock's dad in the reboot universe. So
James Frain.
Yeah, James Frain. So I'm looking forward to talk about it. I don't want to really like tip my hand, but like that's basically, and this was my first time watching it.
Awesome. Well, what about you, Tristan? Is this either a never knew or a family favorite? Because I feel like that's it with you. It's either one or the other.
Your logic is sound on this one, Darren, my fellow Count, because this is a family favorite. This is one that I watched this came out. I was 16 when this came out, and I watched this all the time with my parents because we were big Jim Caviezel fans from Frequency and some other things, but mainly Frequency. Like, oh my gosh, like I loved watching. We need to figure out a way to do Frequency on the show because I loved him in that and that whole story and everything like that with Dennis Quaid. And so we had to see this, and of course I was a Guy Pearce fan for what John was just talking about with Memento and LA Confidential and everything like that. And I friggin' love Guy Pearce's voice in this, where it's foppish but intimidating at the same time. It's like Count Monte. It's just that little bit like I have more money than you. Like
I'm gonna find a way to talk but not actually fully open my mouth.
yeah.
Like I'm gonna talk through, but just less openness, and I don't. You're I have two better things to do.
Like be lethal in return.
You know what it kind of reminded me of, and I haven't watched the movie in years, so maybe I'm misremembering, but it kind of reminded me, his demeanor kind of reminded me of Tim Roth in Rob Roy. Similar sort of like quiet menace sort of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not one-to-oneing it because I haven't seen Rob Roy in a long time.
It's not a one-to-one, but that I totally get that connection. That is a very respectable and solid connection.
Cool.
We got this on VHS. Like we did not see this in the theater. We missed it.
Rewind it. We need to watch it again.
we got this on VHS, and as I was saying off mic, when it was announced that Henry Cavill was going to be, we loved this movie so much that when Henry Cavill was announced to be in Man of Steel, we were like, wait, the Do Your Worst kid? Like he's gonna be Superman? That's cool. But no, this was we watched this all the time, and I was oh my god. As a 16-year-old kid, I was friggin' enamored by Mercedes, like that actress, Dagmara Demichek. She was as a young man, she was intoxicating. Like you were talking about Guy Pearce. I thought she was going to be huge. Like after this movie, I thought Dagmara Demichek. Sorry, I'm going to screw that up all night. Demichek. I thought she was going to be huge. I was just like, I told my family, I was like, you watch her. You were going to see her in bigger and bigger roles as we go, and we didn't. And it makes me a little sad, but she's consistently gotten work, and she apparently was in like 34 episodes of Succession most recently. So, I loved her performance. I loved her voice in this. Yeah, it's just family favorite. Seen it a bunch of times. Super excited to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, she fits the period. It feels like could just pop over into another period piece, like I don't know, like Persuasion or Sense and Sensibility, like right in that
totally
era.
But
this one is funny again because we all have to talk about Henry Cavill in our intro, but I looked it up because I'm like, okay, he's really young. How old was he? And then I realized that Henry Cavill is the same age as I am. He was born in 83, so he was 19 when this came out, so I would have been 19 as well. Yes, I know, John, I know. But this one, a good revenge flick where like you feel totally justified and you got to go through your trial by fire. We'll get to Richard Harris, who was just amazing in this. But this one was a lot of fun. It was interesting to look back, and I guess it came out in January of that year, which kind of feels like an odd time. Like it's not a Christmas release, or sort of is, like tangentially, but it's not a summer release either. It's just kind of in between, but it did well. It was made for 35 mil and made 75, which is a decent turnaround for a movie.
That's a respectable number
in the early aughts. But this one I remember we picked up for I think I do have a DVD of it somewhere. But my friends in college, because this was right leading into my college days, some of them were really into soundtracks. So they had the soundtrack for the Count of Monte Cristo, and we would play it all the time because there were so many great. I love the soundtrack cuts in this. There's like the moment he throws the montage cut where he throws the map on the fire and it just cuts. It's like, I shall become a count. And then it's all like the montage of him becoming a count and all of that. So the music in this is spot on for
the love theme between the two of them is absolutely lovely. And it makes you, this is, I know I don't often like to talk about scores on this podcast because sometimes I feel like, oh yeah, they're serviceable. I don't really think about it. This is definitely one that I feel is worth talking about. Like this has a phenomenal score.
It does.
I agree. I think it starts off in terms of matching the music with the action a little bit oddly in the beginning. when they're having that first confrontation, it's a little too much for the very open, but
Totally
then
can get that, yeah.
then it settles down. But I was thinking about what you said before, Darren, where it's like you don't really remember scores unless there's something to latch onto. And even though it didn't quite match up, I was sitting there saying, this doesn't quite match up, but I would listen to this. I would have this playing in the background. Like, it was a weird sort of like dissociative reaction where I was like, normally I'd be very critical, but I like the music, so I won't be. And you mentioned Richard Harris. It blows my mind. I had to look this up, that this comes out the year that he died. And it blows my mind because
you're right. This would have been
when
post,
he was
Harry Potter.
Well, this one came out before Harry Potter. This was the last movie that was released when he was alive.
Right.
And the second Harry Potter came out, he was actually passed by then.
Yes. And but the thing that bends my mind is I always associate how he was as Dumbledore as so frail. And then in this movie, it was very jarring because that's what set me off, is they do such a good job of making him look a lot more vivacious in his scenes, with the cutting and the placement and obvious body doubles here and there, right, that he doesn't come across as like a frail old man the way he does as Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. Like in that last performance as Dumbledore, like he really, you look at him, it looks like a stiff wind is going to knock him over. So it does. It's but I also
he's strong. Yeah. There's the one shot where he's kind of like trying to sleep and he doesn't have his shirt on, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is an old man. Like he's not got many years left in the Shadow Deep. But but just it made me think back to Harry Potter and kind of missing that Dumbledore, because I think we all fell in love with that portrayal, and not to diminish the later portrayals, but there's just something about his soft-spokenness, but backed by conviction and integrity and all of that. Like that is a fun character to be with. Like he's like, and we get these great one-liners like, I'm a priest, not a saint. There's so many zingers in this movie.
Yeah. With Richard Harris in this movie, I know this was only like 2 or 3 years after Gladiator, but with this character, it felt very similar to Marcus Aurelius because of the whole philosophical nature of him. Like he said, he's like, I'm going to give you, because like he was, Marcus Aurelius was known as the philosopher, the poet, and his character Faria in Count of Monte Cristo is a learned man. Like he's like, I'm going to give you the greatest gift of all. I'm going to give you knowledge. And it just felt very similar in those kind of two tones. I know it's the same person, it's the same voice, but it felt tonally very similar to those two roles. And those two roles are my favorite of his. I know, granted, I was a young man when he passed, and he has a great body of work, and this was at the tail end of it. But yeah, that's when I think Richard Harris, I think Marcus Aurelius, and I think Faria.
Yeah, this would be a new favorite performance of Harris's here, and so long as we're still talking about the actors and everything, and we've been doing nothing but heaping praise on the actors. I think this is a phenomenal cast. And I know when we talk about where do you see Reynolds in this, and it's like the guy has a knack for getting good performances. I mean, he casts well, and then he gets the best from who he casts, and somebody who's an absolute joy every time he's on screen is Luis Guzman.
I knew you were going to say that.
I love that guy so much. Like I see his name in the credits and I'm like, awesome. And as soon as I see him on screen, I'm like, I know this is my buddy. My buddy's going to come through, and he plays that role so well. Like it's exactly the way he should play it.
Like
this movie plays to his strengths.
Like it totally.
Yeah. He is Jacopo. 100%. Like when he said like, when they find the treasure, that's my favorite scene of Jacopo, because the entire audience is thinking like Jacopo is like, you are the richest person I've ever heard of. Like it's like you want to take revenge? Like I will go to Paris myself. Bing bang boom.
Bam, we're done by week's end. But that's small mind thinking, which is it shows against and he's
but it wasn't out of character. Like it wasn't out of the world. It wasn't out of the story. It was Luis Guzman playing Luis Guzman, but it 100% fit the story.
Absolutely. Just what a cast, though. I mean,
seriously,
just absolutely marvelous top to bottom, and such a treat to actually see every character gets the necessary amount of screen time. And what I mean by that is, I was really thinking about this, is in other hands, this easily becomes a 3 to 4 hour epic Oscar bait movie. And I think this is another mark of Reynolds where he comes in and he says, I got about 2 hours to tell this. I'm going to keep it pretty close to that. It's a very sort of like, very old school mentality of like, okay, my running time, I got getting butts in the seats. I don't see a director that's like, no, my grand epic got cut down from 4 hours, because I think the running time of this, I'm going to throw it out to you guys. I think the running time's pretty much right for this. It's not indulgent.
I think it's like an hour 45. Is that right?
It's 131. So
131.
It's 210.
Yeah, it's a very brisk 210.
Oh, I was way off. Man, it felt like a 145. Yeah, 210.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I think that's part of the structure, because it's like you have a little bit of the setup where you have like the rise of Edmund, and it's the best day of his life. He just became captain. He's going to be able to marry his girl real soon, and then boom. It made me think, like if you edited a trailer in that early 2000s, like college film vibe of like, it was Edmond Dantes' best day ever. But then, the school bully threw him in the shadow deep. And it's like, like, oh man.
I watched the trailer that came out in 2001.
I need to watch the trailer again. I do not remember
is
it at
a
all.
god awful early 2000s trailer, and it shows you the entire movie. It has horrible voiceover. It's terrible.
That might explain maybe why I didn't catch it back then.
It's quite possible, because seriously, the only reason why we watched this because I love sword fighting films, even though this really wasn't a sword fighting film. And Jim Caviezel. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have given it a shot.
I mean, 75 million box office, that feels like a bad trailer movie. Like, this is worth being $100 million movie, but it probably didn't have quite the marketing steam it needed to be that.
Well, I think also it's very tricky to try to get people into a movie like this that is not a 4-hour Oscar bait movie.
Or have never read the book. Like, you're going to get the book crowd a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, I've never read the book, but it's one of those things where this has been adapted so many times
17
over the last century. Yeah. Ooh. And it's been made a lot. And I think that it's just very difficult to appeal to a very wide audience with a movie like this, unless you're doing something that's like a Pirates of the Caribbean that is a little bit more modern. This has a very old school sensibility. Are you going to see it because you love revenge movies? Are you going to see it because you love Guy Pearce? Are you going to see it like what is the hook? Because it's I could see that being difficult to do. Well, we've been heaping a ton of praise on a lot of the actors. We haven't talked a lot about Jim Caviezel though. Let's talk about him.
We haven't. Yes.
And we were joking off mic a little bit that there's definitely a moment after, at least for me, when he gets off the boat for the first time after coming back to Marseille. He's walking along with a shawl over his head. We're like, boy, he looks like Jesus. And I bet you someone else thought that too. And 2 years later, cast him in Passion of the Christ. But he already has the whipping scenes down. Like this is his Jesus edition.
Watching this again, that exact moment when he gets back to Marseille, he has the beard, the hair, and he has the hood on, and I'm just like, Jesus just came to France.
Probably, it would be so funny to find out that in the production, like those were the last scenes filmed because he had to go into
like reshoots for Passion.
Yeah, something like that.
I know this totally isn't what we're talking about, but like what's crazy is that Jim Caviezel was an extra on Braveheart, and
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was an extra on Braveheart. No speaking lines, just an extra. And Mel Gibson met him, like they formed a friendship, and that is when they decided to do Passion of the Christ. No joke.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea about that part of it, and that absolutely blows my mind and just underlines that whole thing of like it's meeting the right person at the right time is so key.
Yep.
Yeah. And what I think is a little bit wild is that obviously his portrayal of Christ in Passion of the Christ is, that's a career-defining role. We all know that. But people, I think, as a result, sleep on other roles that he's had, like this one,
That's true.
Where it's like, this guy's just a good actor. He has talent. And
what's the name of the show?
Has a
he
screen
was
presence.
in?
Person of interest.
Person of interest.
Person of interest. I actually really liked. I got through part of it. Like eventually, there's other things that were drawing me in more. But the episodes I watched, like he was very charismatic in it. It worked really well.
I think that Person of Interest is the type of show that does better if it came out a little bit closer to streaming, because being on the old people network,
like being able to sit down and
get a hold
binge a season of Person of Interest, I think is the way to consume it.
Yeah. You have that whole arc, you have that shadowy, mythology plot going on in the background. I definitely think that show was maybe a little bit ahead of its time.
I want to ask you guys, as I was watching this, I never really thought this before, or maybe I thought this before and I forgot, but as I was watching this movie in preparation for the podcast, as I was watching Jim Caviezel, his performance and everything about, like, once he became the Count, and specifically when he got Villefort and he was in the carriage and the pistol was in there. And he put the pistol in his mouth, pulled the trigger, and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden he comes up. He's like, "You didn't think I was going to make it that easy for you, did you?" And then he pops out. The music races. That's the moment where it's just like, Jim Caviezel would have made an awesome Batman.
Yes, he would.
Ooh.
You're absolutely right. And I will admit to this, that my first time watching it, that moment he pops in the window saying you didn't think I'd make it that easy. Like I actually jumped a little bit in my seat. Like it caught me completely, because I expected it to go a certain way.
Right.
And then it didn't go. And I was like, "Oh, you slick." And then all of a sudden he's there. I was like, "Yeah. Oh, cool." Yeah.
Well, and the fact that it's the same carriage, it's like, he knows where he's going. He's going to the Shadow Deep, under new management.
And what's interesting about that scene is, in the original cut of the film, when they did it for the test audiences, Kevin Reynolds had him blow his brains out. Like that was in the movie. Like he shot it that way. He shot it both ways. He shot it where he blows his brains out, and he shot it where Caviezel comes up and says, "You didn't think I was going to make that easy for you."
And so the test audience, they showed the shooting version.
Exactly. They showed the test audience the shooting, and some of the people in the test audience said, "You know what? It probably would have been cooler if it wasn't loaded." And Kevin Reynolds is like, "Oh my God, I totally have that button." And
it's like, thank God past self for shooting that. And we don't have to go to reshoots. We just slide that footage in.
We just slide it in. And that's exactly what
happened. That's what's most satisfying about a revenge movie, is them getting their comeuppance as close to the pain they inflicted. Not they all die. That doesn't,
right.
That's not interesting.
Not as satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it's also, that might speak to Reynolds as well, when he's not working with somebody else who's a little big for their britches because of their own directorial successes.
Who are you talking about?
Spitballing here? I'm not saying anybody in specific. I'm just saying, might be a thing. But to that end, that's true. Have a director that on set is like, he's not being told, "You got to do this thing." He's saying, let's shoot it both ways and let's see how this goes. That's a smart director. That's somebody who is hedging his bet and knowing that there are certain moments where it could go either way. And it's also a really smart director. Let's put it this way. It's a very smart audience-focused director who knows that he is making a movie that he wants people to enjoy and consume. He's not planting a flag in the ground and saying, "This is my epic masterpiece."
Art!
He's saying,
behold and despair,
But that's the pattern, I'd say, is showing up with Reynolds in these movies that we're watching, is that this is a guy who comes to the job saying, "I want to make something people enjoy." Like it's the different approaches you can have as a director, whether it's live theater or film or something like that. He very much comes off to me as the type of guy who wants people to have a good time. He's there to entertain you and not do anything beyond that. And I think that's noble in its own way. Honestly, I think of the movies we've watched in his filmography up to this point, this is the first time I see it really paying off for him, because the previous two are Costner's boot heavily on his neck.
Yeah.
And now we have him a little freer. I think that comes across in everything.
Not to diminish the actors, but they do feel kind of like putty in his hands. Like they're actually like, They're just going along with his vision and his story. But he, like we've said, knows how to get that performance out of them. And it's a really good, and I mean, it's not only a good cast, but it's a good cast off of each other. Like, yeah, Jim Caviezel could be amazing, but if Mondego is not charismatic and dynamic, it does not work. If he is not just as good of a villain that you hate, like you need to hate this guy. Like he is a terrible father. He's a terrible friend. He's like the snobby rich, like the beginning when he's like, why you're the son of a clerk, like why should I want to be you? You're just like, I now hate you so much.
That was an interesting invention of the movie, was that Edmond and Fernand
different social classes.
Well, no, we're friends in the movie. They're not in the book. They're not best friends in the book.
Ooh.
And also,
I think it's better. It's way better to be.
It is 100% better because it makes the fall that much harder. It makes the betrayal that much harder, and it really works because
I'm guessing then the Kings to You is not in the book as well, because if they weren't friends, then why would they have that
the Kings to You isn't in there, and also the book starts with Edmond coming ashore and talking to the shipping owner and everything like that, saying like, "Hey, I totally got a letter from Napoleon. That's weird, right?"
Yeah.
But in the movie, they're
different
like
pacing, different choices.
Let's show this. Like it was Kevin Reynolds' idea to say like, let's make this a much more cinematic storytelling. Let's show him meeting.
So that
Napoleon.
whole opening scene wasn't even in the book. It's just implied that it happened. Oh yeah, you got to show that, because you're already showing. I think that's the smartest thing, because up until the fall, like the moment where everything goes wrong for him, every moment is precious where you have to establish these characters. So all those minutes we're spending with Edmund, that we're spending with Mondego, we're learning about like every look that Guy Pearce is giving, where you're like, is this guy your friend? He's kind of an asshole. Like, I don't really know. Like if you don't have that, and all of a sudden, like, oh, he betrayed me. It's like, yeah, I've spent 2 minutes with the guy, but I've spent now 10 minutes with the guy, and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah. But what I think is really great that build does is it really establishes Edmund as a very Flanders-esque, sort of like too trusting kind of,
he is very naive.
Super naive about the world. Because Mondego is there trying to make time with his girl. And he's like, hey guys, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, come on, bro. I'm like, Hey! Little separation here, folks.
But leave room for Jesus, though.
I mean, leave room for me.
Nice. I loved it though. How it was crazy how direct Fernand was. Like right when the scene opens, he's like, "Make love to me."
I know. We're like, what? And she knew. She totally knew. She's like, you've been hitting on. You can tell it's been going on for years that he's been hitting on her.
Exactly. It works because Mercedes was just like, oh, that's just Fernand. He's a horn dog. He doesn't really mean it. It's fine. Like you can rationalize it and everything like that. Like they're friends. He's weird. It's whatever. And even the body language of Caviezel is phenomenal.
He's just like, he's just trouncing around like it's his first day on. I'm on a ship. And I'm doing what's right by my captain. It's like, dude, you're gonna get hosed in life, buddy. Like,
when he runs to them, like his shoulders are down, his limbs are kind of loose, and when he like goes into the carriage that takes him to it was going to take him to Chateau d'If, like he has this naivety about him, but then
until he sits down and it locks.
Yeah,
it's has no
brilliant
idea.
Body work from Caviezel. Like it's man, this has to be my favorite performance of his.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, well, I mean, I was going to say that it's also, I think, a wonderfully intelligent movie that also makes things extremely clear to the entire audience without making it feel like there was some studio note to say, oh, no, I don't know how well this will play in the sticks. We got to slow this down a little bit, be a little more. Like every little reveal that they have, like about who Clarion was and how he was related to everything, and all of that stuff, walking around with a little Napoleon cane. It's like, how do you not know that guy's a traitor? Come on.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's like,
I'd say there's a
Yeah.
massive thing in this movie that it does really well, and I will attribute this to the director, is the reveal, like you're saying, the reveal of information and what we know and what certain characters know is beautifully laid out. Because there's a lot of time when Dantes doesn't know at all what's going on, but we know because we can see, we see the other side of that conversation on the rocks with Mercedes and Mondego. So we know that's coming. And then it goes on the other foot later where we even don't know Edmund's plans, but we know he's planning, and we're seeing them unveiled as the dupe is getting, their comeuppance. So it's really just I'd say if you took anything from making film away from this movie, it is how to reveal information to your audience. Sometimes it's because character A knew it. Sometimes it's because character B. Sometimes neither know it. Like that, I think, is why this movie works at its core.
I agree.
Now, we've been, as we've said, we've been heaping praise on this. And I would love to ask what you guys think didn't work in this. And I'm not saying this didn't work, but it always gives me pause, because I know this is kind of a joke because Henry Cavill's in it. I'm about to say that this movie has a little bit of Clark Kent syndrome, where,
like, why would nobody understand?
Why would no one
Edmund
recognize them, especially Fernand and Mercedes? Because when you're reading the book, when you're reading Count of Monte Cristo, it tells you like, okay, yeah, he's changed so much from prison. Like so much has happened to him that nobody recognizes him. And when you're reading the written word, your brain goes, okay, all right, that's fine. I understand that. I get that. But when you're watching,
he has a goatee. It couldn't possibly be Edmund. Edmund didn't
exactly.
have a goatee.
Like when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, that's Jim Caviezel. Now with Villefort, I totally get it, because he spent 3 minutes with him,
right?
And this
16 years ago.
This was 16
and
years
then he's
ago.
like, hey, 16 years ago, when you sentenced Edmond Dantes, and he's like, dude, what? Like, I haven't even thought about that in like ages.
Yeah, but like when Fernand, your best friend, and Mercedes, your lover.
Yeah. Well, Mercedes does have pause. The first time he sees her, you can tell she's like, and I attribute it, because I did think of that as well. And I do attribute it to the fact that this is an age without cameras, without pictures, without now granted, I would feel being in the same room as him, Mercedes would be getting warning bells going off of because when you're next to someone like you loved and was your like fiance, you would think there'd be, and maybe that's what we're seeing play out, is that kind of like, is this so-and-so? But I can buy it. I think there's enough suspension of disbelief that, and I think that's also even if Mondego thought for a half second that was Edmund, he's like, but what is more plausible? That Edmund died like I was told 16 years ago, or he is in fact the richest person I've ever met, the Count of Monte Cristo. Like, that sounds ludicrous. So then you just put it out of your mind and go, it must obviously be the more logical solution.
I agree. I'm willing to go along with it, mainly because I know from personal experience that, and people might roll their eyes or whatever, but I know from personal experience that if I take my glasses off and shave, people do a double take every so often when I'm first walking in the hall, where they're like, oh, right, John. And if I went 16 years, then I think that somebody would, to your point, Darren, people weren't having video calls every week talking about movies that directors did. There was a space of time.
Well, that's why,
and never mind the fact that Mondego was a drunk,
so important.
And that's going to affect his brain.
That's true. But that's why it was so important. Like, when you came to a party, people announced you, because nobody kind of knew.
Yep.
Like, you didn't know who people were. You knew the name. So as long as someone walked in and vouched that you were you, then you were golden. It reminds me of my father-in-law was a firefighter and up to fire chief. And once when he was younger, all firefighters have like the big mustache, or most do. And one time he shaved it off and went into the firehouse, and people were like stopping him at the door, like, dude, like, who, like, you can't be back here. Like, they totally did not recognize him. They took a Polaroid and put it up on the wall and said, name this bro, because nobody, and it is like, there's some people have that striking difference. And I guess for Edmund, Edmund doesn't wear goatees. That can't possibly. And he's rich and still alive. That possibly be him.
It's true. Like, the goatee, rich, still alive. People were told you were dead for 16 years. Totally. I get it. Like when you're watching it and you're a modern audience, you're just like, you have a modern mentality and you think that. But yeah, like all those things come to play, and you guys are absolutely right. Like I don't remember this, but I'm told that my father shaved his beard off when I was like 2, and I lost my mind as a 2-year-old, where like I ran into their room. I thought there was a stranger in the house.
Now to speak to that though, because we are talking about all the stuff that it does properly in terms of film language and everything.
True. We're supposed to be talking about negative.
Giving, we like the movie, so we're giving it a pass on Edmund not looking different enough. They could have made the decision to maybe give him a scar that would be a distinguishing feature that would distract people from it.
Like a broken nose or something.
Yeah, his nose got broken in one of the beatings. He has a goatee. He has a little scar over his eye. Like that would be 3 significant factors where people would be like, okay,
or
dead, 16 years.
Different hair or something like that. Yeah.
He had some streaks of gray that threw people off. But it's, I agree that it's kind of a shortcoming because they could have done something to make it more pronounced, to have us go along with it more. But I think that becomes a function, again, of just how much are you enjoying the ride? And there are so many things where so many movies where you're just like, okay, that's fine. I'll let that pass.
And that's the thing. Like, if we weren't enjoying this film, or if it wasn't a well-made film, we would have been tearing this apart. Like, we would have been saying, like, oh, come on. Yeah. Like, the guy has a goatee, and all of a sudden you can't recognize him. Come on.
Well, I will say one of the things I like, as we're talking about the visuals of the characters, this movie does a great job with keeping track of who is who, meaning there's a lot of French names, guys. And so very often I will get lost in these kinds of movies when people look too similar, or they're wearing too similar the same thing, or they both have dark hair, or their name. And obviously we say the word, they say their names a million times. And so that helps. But I love the fact that, like, okay, Dantes looks like this, and like I can identify the key players. I love, JB Blanc as the Captain Luigi. I won't remember his name, but every time he shows up, I'm like, that's that guy.
You know who that is,
and who that is.
And Edmund even shook his hand and says, "I may call on you again. You never know when you need a good friend." You're like, foreshadowing. Okay, I need to look for JB Blanc.
Yep. I think the difficulty I have is, I'll go straight out and say it, while I was watching it, because we're sitting here, we're like, oh, well, let's look for the negative, and we're already giving it an out for one of the negative things, quote unquote. But I can honestly say this is one of those ones where I find it a challenge every so often watching a film where I know there are certain things that I'll ding it for, but as I'm sitting here watching it and I'm thinking to myself, I'm questioning the way I approach, quote unquote, reviewing movies. Because at one point, about halfway through, I said to myself, well, why wouldn't I give this 5 out of 5? What is lacking here? I'm having a good time. I like the actors. I like the characters. I like the pacing. I like the way everything's going. It's not self-indulgent. But there's that nagging thing of like, we have this expectation that, but 5 stars.
Yeah.
And so I think
it's not The Godfather Part 2. Why would I give this 5 stars? Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think that it is right to call out that Edmund doesn't look different enough to the other people. But that, I think, is also a function of time compression. Because we've been with Edmund the whole time, we don't get the sense of him being gone. So when other people encounter him, no, we've been with him the whole time. How do you not know how he looks? I've been here with him the whole time.
That's true. We never cut back to how's life going in France, and they're getting old. Like, we don't see them until Edmund sees them, which I think is the right choice.
Yes.
But we lose that point of view. I mean, I think they do make Mercedes feel a little older because, it's been, 13 years. So she should feel a little bit. But
the actress is only 7 years older than Henry Cavill.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But again, maybe working in something, you don't need to go back and show them living their lives in Paris or anything, but maybe doing something to make it feel a little bit more, basically the pacing with Richard Harris is so good that it moves briskly. And so you lose sense of the fact that it is literal years passing while they're together.
I mean,
And
they try like the whole beatings thing annually, like that makes sense. The fact
tunnels.
that after the tunnel gets longer, you have like he
That's
actually kind
true.
of has more clothes, and like they have like all their little hidey things, like here's where we hide our wooden swords, and here's where we hide our books, and all of that. But you're absolutely right, though. It is massive time compression, and we're just also at that age, unless it's like 50 years, the human eye is like, oh, you look roughly the same. Like there's not, or if you go from like born to 30, yeah, that's going to be a big difference. But like, and not that he's that young when he starts, but it is hard to show that kind of passage of time on him. And you don't want to do it too much, because then if you can't pick him out in a scene, not that I think that would really happen, but that would be bad.
Well, definitely the whole confused identity thing was a thing in literature for a while. I don't know if it is so much anymore, but like I think of I think of Tale of Two Cities. Like everything hinges on that idea. And so it was very much a question of the time. I think basically just handling some of the time compression to make it feel less compressed, and a few makeup tweaks to Edmund. And those are the only two major flaws I'd really go after, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I think that the action scenes, the sword fighting is really well done. I especially like the sword fight in the apartment when Edmund is trying to get away.
Yes.
Like that.
It's like a desperate, I don't know how to fight. Like, you grab his sword.
I love it when Fernand says, like,
him.
Don't make me take your hand. Like, it's that felt like a real moment where it's just like, listen, like, I can take you. You know I can take you. Don't put up too much of a fight or I will fight back. Like, it was that moment of a truly superior force and a desperate man.
Mm-hmm.
And the desperate man acted like a desperate man would. He didn't just go like, okay, and then he sits down and waits for the guards to show up. No, he does whatever it takes, but it's not enough. He
literally grabs the sword. He's so desperate with his bare hands, which it's another callback to Rob Roy. Yeah.
That's right.
We all remember that
bone-chilling
scene.
Well, I think that that also speaks to a director and an editor that know how to cut a scene like that. And that's another strength, is it's really easy to make the cutting too quick in that micro sense. It's like, no, we need a close up here. We need a close up here. And it's like the camera gives the scene and the editing gives the
very
scene
wide at
room.
times. Like,
really let the
room
scene
to move.
Play. Yeah, let it play out. Let the people do the action, not the editing.
Yeah,
exactly. The frenetic energy of that scene is from the fact that Edmund is not an experienced swordsman, not because the camera shook really close.
Right.
So it's got to be, and it's like, no, that's the way you should do it. Well, speaking of the look, there were some moments when the carriage is going by, or it's basically, I want to talk about nighttime, because there's a lot of stuff that happens at nighttime here. And I feel it did a pretty decent job of having natural light sources in play. I mean, there's obviously light that is added, or the moon is the brightest it's ever been, because you have to be
it's a full moon every time.
Every time, but you need that. Like, I get that. I would much rather just be able to see what is happening than be like, well, wait a minute, there's like 5 torches in brackets, where's that giant white light coming from? Like, I don't care. But like the party where he's unveiled and the fireworks, like that was really cool. And a lot of other the beach scene on Elba at the beginning.
I do have another nitpick.
Okay, go for it.
Now that you bring that up. So I love the reveal scene. I think it's cheesy. I think it's over the top. And I think it's great because the dude comes down. There's like acrobats. He comes down.
The guy is showing he is richer than God. Like, he is just throwing money at this event.
And he says greetings. Okay. Here's the thing though. Where they are positioned, where the audience is positioned,
no one could see any of that.
No one could see any of that. Not at all.
I thought you were going to call out the fact that at one moment, as the balloon is coming down, Luis Guzman is out of focus.
That bothered
obviously
me.
Went with. It
I
drove
wanted
me
to
nuts.
I wanted to smack, like, throughout this movie, I wanted to smack the focus puller, because there's more than a few moments when things are out of focus when they shouldn't be. Not so much that it's glaring, not so much that, like, you were like,
Tristan
oh, you shouldn't
noticed.
use that shot, but like, yeah, Tristan noticed. Exactly.
I will say in that scene too, when Jacopo is like about to announce him and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm like, dude, you should project, but you're talking like you're in a room, and at least have like an
it was
old
even
fancy
worse.
megaphone or something.
It was even worse with Edmund. He was just like,
Yeah,
when he's like,
it was.
greetings. And it was, the people even up front were
Everyone
like,
what?
what did he
What?
say? And also,
He said something about feelings.
And I think I saw a balloon far away, but I don't know what happened after that.
I don't even know what a balloon is. I've never seen one. What is this sky magic? But yeah, I mean, again, it's literally, it was funny though, because focus pulling aside, in that scene, you could for me, I could feel like, man, this guy is just throwing money out. He's might as well throw it out of the balloon. Like, he's basically just showing I am.
And the invites themselves. The invites themselves. There's not a copy machine. Right. Those had to be
those were
hand
expensive,
drawn and hand illustrated, each and every single one of them.
Yeah. But that's how you did it. That's how fancy people did parties and such.
But we all know that I hate doing any sort of research, but those acrobats seemed a little bit too much Cirque du Soleil. Like, did they really have acrobats that were that good back then?
I don't know.
Like, I was looking at it, I was like, I don't know.
Not barely on the edge of having hot air balloons. So I think we're going to give it a little bit
I mean, like, I think they definitely kind of
I know they had,
Well, I was just going to say that, like in France, maybe not. But I mean, they had circuses in France, and they had, had acrobats in India, and you had.
Obviously, I'm more talking about the level of acrobatics, because like that was like some next level daring dude, like come out of a hot air balloon and like do the spinny, the fabric thingy that I see at the Cirque du Soleil stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a shame that like he did that for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a simple staging fix, but what have you? Yeah. I mean, I had a hard enough time. I did have to look it up. Chateau d'If means U castle, just in case you were YEW.
I thought it meant the Rock or something. But.
I went to Google Translate because I'm sitting there, Chateau d'If, and my very basic understanding of French, I was like, House of If? What? Like, and that's why I had to go look it up and run it through Translate. So
okay, I did think of another criticism that I'd like to talk about, and this is mainly
so far we've counted it on one hand, but keep going.
Well, this was really kind of thematic, and I want to get what you guys think about this, because like, we're all believers, we're all Christians, and so this is God plays a heavy theme in this film. Edmond Dantes is a believer. He says God's everywhere. It's in everything. Same with Mercedes. And he loses his faith because he goes to Chateau d'If and says, God, it's not real. Like, I'm suffering horribly. And then he continues to resist God. And it's not until he accepts God again, once he enacts all of his revenge and gets everything he's ever wanted. To me, I always, as a young person, I always hated that message. And I'm like, when things are going bad, God's not real. But when things are going good, oh, thank you, God. That's kind of I feel like that message didn't really land as well as they were trying.
I agree. I understand what you're saying.
It's like the anti-Job.
They were trying to pull off something, I think, that was more rooted in the sense of he was coming back around to faith, but he knew he couldn't let go of this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where it gets clunky is I would have given, as trite as it is, the way we all come to grips with something like that is him beating Fernand in the sword fight, and then saying, no, this is wrong, I won't kill you. And then walking away, and Fernand coming up behind him, aha, that sort of thing. That if it played like that, we would have all been like, okay, he saw the error of his ways
at the 11th
and then
hour.
His hand was forced because he decided X, Y, and Z. So I agree with you. It doesn't quite stick the landing there. But I think it also misses an opportunity to pose an interesting philosophical question of, did he view himself doing these things because, the Lord works in mysterious ways? And guess what? Sometimes somebody needs to be, the deliverer of judgment, as it were.
Of the
right?
comeuppance.
So I'm not saying I advocate that idea. I'm saying like maybe that could have come across more cleanly in how he is wrestling with it. Because through the whole thing, I think he gets back to a faith, something of a faith footing, thanks to his time with Richard Harris. But with this tone of, I can't fully embrace it until I stop being a bad person. And I'm not going to stop being a bad person because all of these people deserve what's coming to them. So the question becomes, because that whole, God will grant me justice. Well, then we as an audience have to sit there and say, well, if what he's delivering is justice, is it wrong what he's doing? Because I think that it has more of a problem if we have a situation where they go with the original version and Villefort does blow his brains out. But to your point, instead, they have it where he says, oh, no, it's like for like. It's a Ra's al Ghul sort of thing. Justice is balance. You left me for dead and burned down my house. Now we're even. That sort of thing. So, except for, of course, Fernand, who just needs to die.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Is it justice? Yeah, I think so. Is it godly? No. And I think that's the thing that I really struggle with, is because it's the literal last shot of the film is the phrase, God will give me justice, or God will grant me justice, carved into the wall. And then we as believers know the line, God saith that vengeance will be mine. And you're just like, oh, okay. All right.
Which is even what the priest says. He says, as he's dying, he's like use it for good, and he's like, I can't. And then he doesn't and uses it for revenge. Like, he does exactly what he says he's going to do. But he's like, thank you for making me a lethal killing machine. Now I will go and best my foes.
But, but that's the thing where I think it does have an interesting, and I don't think it explores it as well as it could, but it does have that sort of interesting underpinning of, isn't the world better off with these people removed
it kind of is. Yeah.
Like
there's the moment at the end when Mondego's leaving Mercedes and she's like, he's like, they're after me for, lying and killing and embezzling and cheating. And she's like, did you do these things? He's like, yes, but I shouldn't be caught for it.
He's like, that's besides the point.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little clunky at the end. I could maybe sit there and torture myself into being like, well, he was going to stay with her when she was shot, but then Mondego came back. And it's like, that's his ending where his revenge has been exacted. And then it's Mondego's action that spurs it forward further. And so it could be
true. It's true. Cause Edmund does say he's like, just go. It's cool. I stole your life. I stole your wife and your son. But you can go. I stole them back, I should say. You can go. There is that moment of mercy where movies love to do this, where they're like, listen, I'm not going to kill you. Okay. I'm the better person than you.
Because if he just marches in there and just kills him and shoots him out of cold blood, it's not really the best look for our hero.
Right.
So movies,
and
like you say, do that.
And movies do that where they say I'm not going to kill you. And then they turn their back. And they're like, oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to try to kill you one more time. And then they throw the knife and then they turn around and kill them. And like, oh, I forced your hand. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Yeah. Right. And this movie is no different. In the novel, Villefort goes crazy and Fernand kills himself. He loses everything. He's publicly shamed and then kills himself.
It's interesting. I just had a similar remembering of just similarities from this plot to, say, A Knight's Tale, which is not necessarily a revenge movie, but it is a movie of someone who is rebuilding themselves with subterfuge and entering the world they're not supposed to be in. But a very different vibe is the fact that, he has his opponent, but he is not trying to destroy him and undo his world. He is, more of the mustache twirling antagonist. But yeah, in this one, again, at the end, I think it would have been less satisfying for Fernand to just actually run away. And we're like, but then was he punished enough? He kind of was, but we also want to see him dead because it's a movie. So,
but you know what? I will hang on to that because he does say, go on, there's nowhere you could shoot me. This is all over. You can't hurt me, no matter where you shoot me. And then he says, oh, well, I'll shoot you the one place it does. And he shoots her and he goes. And it would have ended there without his decision to come back, at
After
which
realizing
point
he had lost everything. Like, where's he going to go? Like, it makes sense how it plays out.
So I mean, you know what? I'll say
Can't
Dantes
shoot the
does
woman?
not. Yeah. No, but like he doesn't, he really doesn't go farther than he's supposed to, I guess you could say, at the end of it.
Yeah. No,
And I love that Jacopo was the one who said it. It's like in the entire time he's like, just take the woman and go. It was a woman who loves you. You're rich. Just go. And then at the end, when Fernand comes back, he's like, yeah, you got to finish this. He's like, being honest, like you have to finish this. I also love that the very end, even though like I'm a little iffy on some of the God stuff at the end, when Dantes says like everything that is important to me in this world is right here, and Jacopo's there too. I like it would have been so easy to just make Jacopo the lackey, or to make him, the right hand man who's just there for business. But he's like,
he's really his only friend.
Yeah,
like he kind of is.
And
I love that the movie like shows that and elevates that, brings a tear to my eye.
I agree. It would have been so easy just to treat Luis Guzman as just like, oh, he's comic relief, and it's like, no, he's actually a character with meaning.
He's
and
the
import.
Heart.
Yeah. So my gosh, I don't know that we had too many criticisms so far. I mean, like some interesting discussions
when
back
you have
and
a pretty
forth,
amazing movie, it's kind of hard to rip it apart. Or like you said, John, maybe we can just learn to just enjoy movies. Why let's not even give it a rating. Let's just go on about it. No, we're going to give it a rating, guys, because that's what
we could maybe elevate an appendage pointed up toward heaven, or an appendage pointed down toward hell for those things which are failures. It'd be a very straightforward binary choice there.
Or how many thumbs up or thumbs down? Yeah,
exactly.
Just a binary. Yeah. All right. Well, John, let's start with you, as this was your first foray into the Count of Monte Cristo, about 20 years after the fact, but that is all right, because
never too late. Never too late with recorded entertainment.
It isn't. So what would you give this film now that you've escaped from Chateau d'If?
It's difficult because of everything that we've talked about before. There are some procedural things probably that I would have liked to see them addressed differently, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. But at the same time, I feel like I'm hedging, because I don't know if my next watch will elevate this or solidify this. And so I'm going to give it a very, very solid and respectable 4, with the love of a 5 in my heart, but a sort of like, let's be honest sort of moment here,
just
where it's
give
like,
it a 5 and leave.
Yeah.
You have the money.
Yeah. There are things that could have flowed better, been a little clearer, some makeup choices, all the stuff we talked about. So this is going to land with a very solid and respectable 4, which is much higher than the previous 2 entries in
the
House
2.5s. Yes. All right, Tristan, family favorite. I'm glad you rewound the VHS after you watched it again. But what do you give the Count of Monte Cristo this time around? Has it been a long time since you've seen it? Like, I know you said family favorite.
Not that much. Like, I showed it to my wife a couple years ago. Okay. So it wasn't since I was a kid. Like, I've rewatched this plenty of times ever since as an adult.
Like, honey, I gotta go find the VHCR and figure out how I'm gonna plug it in.
I was DVD at this time. This is post Gladiator and Matrix. I was DVD. So with I'm like John, where I'm giving this a solid and loving 4. I want to give it a 4.5, but at the same time, something makes my brain
like you
itchy.
Could, because it's your own rating.
I know, but it makes me itchy when I try to give it a 4.5. I love this movie. I think this is a great movie. I love to rewatch it. But there's something that's holding me back from giving a 4.5 or a 5. So I give this a solid, loving, amazing 4, but a 5 in my heart, just like John. And so I give it 4 solid Michael Wincott saying, "I have all the time in the world."
Love that guy.
Yeah, well, it's been a little while since I watched this. I definitely watched it a lot around 2000s. I mean, I lived with a bunch of film students at college, and so very often we would just put this movie in or listen to the soundtrack because it was so good. And yeah, this was a fun discussion in the fact that I feel like we weren't unjustly heaping tons of praise on it. There were a lot of things that worked really, really well for this. And as just the fact that it is a revenge movie with a quite complex plot that sticks the landing. Like it could easily have not, or added too many, scenes, or, I don't know, there's other ways it could have unraveled, but like we've said, he was able to bring together, this amazing cast and just get the performance out of them. I'm really glad Costner was not in it, because I don't think we would have gotten anything close to this. If Costner Dantes had no, I don't. He jumps out off the Shadow Deep and jumps onto his trimaran and is cranking the little hand bicycles and sailing away. I do feel like, I don't know a lot about Italian island geography, but it feels like everything is like spitting distance from everything else. Like it doesn't seem like anything is very far away.
Well, Europe is basically a suburb. I mean, you could walk to Italy if you wanted to.
That's true. But no, I am daring to dream. I'm giving him a 5 on this. There are little parts again that are a little rough, but I enjoy this movie every time I put it in, every time I rewatch it. Even though I remember how it's going to play out, but just rewatching the rise and fall and like the action, just the way it goes, the sword fights, the not twisting of the knife. It's not a twisting of the knife kind of movie, but I've literally just taken everything from you and now you have nowhere left to go. And you're like, oh man, he is just, it is the most well-crafted revenge I think I've ever seen.
Every time I watch this movie, I secretly think and feel like maybe he won't get into the carriage this time. Maybe he won't say Clarion and he'll live his life with Mercedes.
Right. Oh,
you know what? I changed my mind. I'm giving this 4.5.
Boom.
Damn it. Wait a minute here. Okay. Because I'm sitting here. Pull the trigger, make it a 4.5. Do it.
There we go. There we go.
Pull the trigger. Yeah, I'm not going to be such a curmudgeon anymore.
Well, I think that fits you, John, because you did say several times that you just love this performance and you were just heaping praise on this. And you said you enjoyed it. You caught yourself midway being like, I'm just enjoying this movie.
Yeah.
And so, and now you got to show your youngin' and, show some, you got to spread the joy.
Now, see, if anybody does anything bad to Daddy, I want you to understand how dedicated he's going to be. Watch this movie.
He's like, why are you watching Count of Monte Cristo on repeat? I got to learn. I got to study up.
Taking notes.
So it was a great portrayal of Count of Monte Cristo. Love the book, love the movie. And I'm glad I was able to pull your ratings up by my joy and gratitude. But next week, as we're continuing in the House of Reynolds, we're going to time jump just like Edmond Dantes did, but not linearly, to see Risen from 2016 here on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.